So guys, Adam Schefter just said something about this Cowboys team that I honestly did not expect to hear this early in the offseason, man. We're talking training camp ain't even started yet. And here's a guy who covers this league for a living, sitting there breaking down why this Cowboys roster has enough talent to make a real deep playoff run this year. And it wasn't just some throwaway comment either. He specifically pointed at what this front office did to upgrade that defense, players and coaching both, and said that's got to give this fan base hope. Then he went even further, started talking about Dak Prescott and this offense like it's legitimately a top 10, maybe top 15 unit in this entire league. So now you got a national insider basically hinting at Super Bowl type expectations for this team before a single snap has even been played. But that ain't all he talked about. He got into some other teams in this division too, and some of what he said about one of our rivals kind of rubbed me the wrong way, not gonna lie. So stick with me, I'm breaking all of it down today. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Look, I want to start with this defense talk because that's really what everybody's been buzzing about the last few weeks. For the longest time, this defense has been under a microscope, right? Everybody questioning it, everybody wondering out loud if this unit could actually hold up against the kind of offenses we see in this league now. And what did this front office go and do about it? They didn't just sit there and hope things got better on their own. They went out and they made real tangible upgrades, not just one or two moves here and there, but actual investment in both the roster and the coaching staff. And honestly, that's the kind of thing that gives a fan hope, you know? It ain't just talk, it's action, it's receipts. And when you got somebody like Adam Schefter, who's plugged into every single locker room in this league, saying this defense could be dangerous if it lives up to what the organization itself thinks it can be, man. That's not nothing. That's a guy with real sources telling you this ain't just Cowboys fans being delusional in July, like some people love to say every single offseason. And then he pivoted straight into the offense, and I mean, come on, we already knew what we had with Dak Prescott. We've seen it, we've lived it. But hearing somebody outside this building basically confirm it, saying this offense with the weapons Dak has around him could be a top 10, maybe top 15 group this year. That's a testimony to how good this quarterback actually is. I mean, think about the weapons on this roster right now, and you already know what CeeDee Lamb brings to the table every single week. So, when a national guy, somebody who don't got a horse in this race, somebody who ain't paid to make us feel good, is out here saying this offense is elite level, that tells you something real. This ain't homer talk, this is national perspective, and that hits different. Now here's where it got interesting for me. Because he didn't stop at the Cowboys, he moved right into the rest of the division, starting with the Giants. And look, I'm not one of these guys who just dismisses every other team in this division out of pride. I like to stay objective when I break this stuff down for y'all. But some of what got said here, I gotta push back on a little bit. He was talking about Malik Nabers and how much of an impact he could have this year if he's healthy. And that's a real if, man, because we all remember watching Cam Scatterbo go down over-rotating on that backflip this past offseason, and that kind of put a spotlight right away on how fragile some of these situations can actually be. Then you add in Jaxson at quarterback, still trying to find his footing in this league, and it's like, okay, I understand there's talent there, nobody's denying that outright. Cam Scatterbo and Jaxson both bring a different kind of energy and juice to that locker room. I'll give them that much credit. But talent without health and talent without consistency, that don't mean anything in this league. And we've seen that exact story play out plenty of times before with plenty of other teams. Then it got to the part that really had me shaking my head a little because he started talking about how this new coaching hire could make a real difference for the Giants, and said he wouldn't be shocked if they snuck into the playoff picture this year. And I'm sitting there like, hold on, what have they actually done to earn that kind of talk right now? We can see what the Cowboys have been doing this offseason. The moves, the investment, the tangible upgrades everybody can point to. What has this Giants roster actually shown anybody outside of some flashes from unproven second-year pieces still figuring themselves out? I'm not fully buying into what they're doing at wide receiver outside of Malik Nabers either, and that's just me being real with you guys like I always am. There are just too many question marks for me to get on board with that kind of hype this early in the summer. Okay, now let me discuss something very important, and that is this whole conversation about who's going to wear the green dot at middle linebacker for this defense. I don't even understand why this is still a question at this point, honestly, because if you've been paying attention closely, DeMarvion Overshown has already made it clear he's the guy. He's the middle linebacker, he's the green dot, end of story, case closed. I mean, look at how it got broken down too. Going through the list of guys who could theoretically take that role, and every single one of them landed right back on DeMarvion Overshown anyway. He's already said he's ready for that kind of responsibility, and honestly, I believe him when he says it. The only real question with DeMarvion Overshown has never been about talent or leadership. It's always been about staying healthy for a full season. That's it. That's really the one thing standing between him and a genuine breakout year in this league. And it's not like this defense left him out there on an island by himself either. They went out and added pieces like David Malik to support that front seven around him. So, if DeMarvion Overshown can stay on the field for 16-17 games, I firmly believe this defense takes a real step forward, and there's no doubt in my mind about that at all. Now, let's get into the story that honestly had me a certain type of way when I first saw it, because this one stung a little, not gonna front with y'all. Word broke that the Dolphins and Jordyn Brooks agreed to a 3-year extension worth over $50 million, with a big chunk of that fully guaranteed. And look, I'm not even mad at Jordyn Brooks for a second. The man earned every single penny of that deal. He led this entire league in tackles last season. He earned first-team All-Pro honors. He's become one of the real anchors of that defense down in Miami. But man, part of me can't help but sit here and think about what it would have looked like having a player like that wearing a Cowboys uniform instead. I mean, you can't miss what you never actually had, right? That's just how it goes, but it's still one of those wishful thinking type situations that get you a little in your feelings. And here's the thing though, and I say this with love, 50-something million with all them guarantees he got in Miami of all places? I don't know, man. The money's great, don't get me wrong, nobody's knocking the bag. But that franchise has been rebuilding for a while now, shipping pieces out, moving on from guys, and I just don't see them being relevant in the real playoff conversation for years to come. So, while I fully respect the bag Jordyn Brooks just secured for his family, I can't sit here and say I'm losing sleep over how that situation played out for us. Alright, last thing I want to touch on before I let you guys go today, because this one's kind of a fun one to close it out. So apparently, George Pickens put out his own personal list ranking the top wide receivers in this league right now, not including himself, of course. And look, I saw this and I had to double check if it was even actually real, because some of these things that circulate online, you just never really know for sure. But assuming this is legit, let's talk about it for a second. Naturally, the first name on that list is CeeDee Lamb, and honestly, I would have done the exact same thing if I was in his shoes. That's just how this league works, man. You support your guy, you support your teammate publicly. That's not even bias at that point. That's just being a good teammate and a good locker room guy. After that, he had Jamar Chase, then Justin Jefferson, then Jaxson Smith and Jigba, and rounding it out was Puka Nacua. Now, personally, if I was making that list myself, I probably would have flipped a couple of those names around a little. I think Puka Nacua deserves to be a little higher up on that list if you ask me. But look, that's still a really solid list regardless of where you'd move a name or two, and I honestly wouldn't be shocked if George Pickens himself deserves a spot somewhere on there too, whether he wants to admit that himself or not. And that's really what this whole update comes down to for me today. You got a national insider out here validating what we've been feeling in our gut about this defense and this offense heading into the season. You got a division rival getting a little bit of premature hype that I'm just not fully buying into just yet. You got a defensive leadership question that honestly was never really a question to begin with if you were paying attention. And you got a few smaller storylines mixed in there that just kind of round out where this roster stands as we get closer to camp. It's still early, I know that. Camp hasn't even officially started. We ain't seen a single preseason snap played yet. But when you start hearing this kind of talk this far out from people who genuinely study this league for a living, it's hard not to get a little excited about where this thing could realistically be headed this year. All right, that's what I got for y'all today. Let me know down in the comments what you think about everything we just went over, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.